welcome. Greetings from Channel 53, TV 53, Wichita, Kansas. This is the Art of Wichita, and I'm Cynthia Perry, and we're here with Dorothy Rogers, who has got a very unusual gallery, and it's located in her home. And this is the way to live, isn't it, Dorothy?
Yes, I love it.
Art all around you. So you are an artist yourself.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I started studying art in the late 60s when my youngest child went off to kindergarten, or rather first grade, when I had some time to myself, and I became addicted and took many classes in studio art, and then it eventually led into representing artists and showing art in my home.
And you've done this in Wichita, and you're
Yes.
from the East Coast, though.
Yes, originally I'm from Ohio, 100 years ago.
100 years ago.
But then I lived, really raised my family in Greenwich, Connecticut, and then lived in Florida for a time and in Boston for a time, and hung my home as a gallery in all those
places. So this is something you've done for many years then.
Yes, yes.
And found it to be quite comfortable, because if you're like me, you have the art in your home anyway.
Yes, oh yes.
Cannot stand to have bare walls and
Yes.
empty spaces. I figure I must be an ancient Egyptian because
Yeah.
I have this Horavaki thing going on. Because you have to have all the little spaces filled, and this is the way I think a home should be.
I kind of borrowed it from, in the 70s, I used to go into New York from Connecticut every couple of weeks, and there would be notices in the paper of shows, say Rembrandt drawings, 6 East 63rd Street, and you'd ring the bell, and it was a, it was a beautiful apartment. I don't carry Rembrandt, but I got that idea from that. I thought, what a wonderful thing to live with your art and be selling it if you want to, and so that's how the concept started.
Right, and I think it's a good one. I know that it costs a lot of overhead to have a separate building and separate place.
Definitely.
And this keeps it more private showings, basically. You do by appointment, or
Yes.
and how do people find you?
Well, it is just really by word of mouth. I do some advertising. It's important to do that, but basically it's just word of mouth. And I don't have large groups, obviously, so it's done with small groups and by appointment. Single.
So do you have special showings at different times where you put out cards and flyers and things like
yes.
that? Oh yeah. So that's what keeps you going then.
Yes, I have an extensive mailing list, and I do that.
And I've heard you also do curating for the Center for the Arts?
Yes, I've done 2 shows there, and I did one in February, March of 1999, and that was 4 artists from the East Coast and an African artist, Chief Olarantoba.
That's the one I saw, the little card.
Yes,
Yes.
and I just did another show of him just in March. I curated another show, a one-man show of his work, and he's very colorful, very popular.
Well, we're going to have to show our audience some of those.
Yes.
And discuss those here in a little bit. And I know you said your son is an artist also.
Yes.
So it kind of runs in the family. Do you have brothers and sisters or other relatives that are in the art world?
Well, not really. Actually, just one aunt was an artist. I have a piece of hers in the hall, but it really doesn't run in the family.
So you're the art person for your family. Huh?
Well, and Bill, he's very much wants to be a full-time artist, and he's good. I told him he's not in my show because he's my son. It's because he's good.
And I saw little sconces in the other room that were made from found objects.
Yes.
I think we have quite a kind of a renaissance of that kind of art here in Wichita.
Yes.
We have a lot of the young artists from WSU and the Dead Artists Society, the group that's the Dead Artists, famous Dead Artists. They all have a similar theme of recycle type art, and that's something that's very interesting to me, since that's what I did my master project on.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Well, there's
aesthetic recycling.
Oh, that's perfect. That's what it is, super recycling. But I like the term aesthetic recycling.
That's when I kind of coined, I think myself. I don't know if I got that from any place else. but
That's excellent.
That's what I call it.
No, I hadn't heard that. In another part of the room, there's a basket that he did. It's called Forbidden Fruit, and it's a wonderful wire basket based on a piece of driftwood, and the top has barbed wire around the top. So that's Forbidden Fruit.
I see. So this is the sacred fruit we don't touch. Okay.
So,
And you have some local artists work here?
yes, I have David Morano, and who else do I?
And he's the one that works with figure
Yes.
and wire and drawings.
Yes, beautiful figure work. He really understands the figure.
Yes, gorgeous.
Well,
Very
and
graceful.
teaches at the center as well as directing their exhibitions.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty important person in
Yes.
your little gallery here.
Yes,
Yes.
very much so.
And can you tell us some more about some of the pieces? We'll get around the room and be showing those pieces, but we can describe them and show our audience.
All right.
So if you can just,
Well, one of the dramatic ones, I think, is Eric Celine's piece that is a closing box. It's very much a sort of a story. He does wooden construction, forced perspective construction, and that one is probably best viewed. That's a very large piece. That was in the center show in December in a show called Wichita Collects, and it's definitely a collector's piece. Marvelous little piece. And
yeah, it's the one that opens up, like a little door opens up and
Yes.
it's like you're going inside of the artist studio.
the artist's studio.
Mhm.
She has a barn studio. When you close it up, you see the doors to the studio, and then you open up the doors, and inside is what she's working on. And
Yeah, that's
that is,
kind of almost a triptych type look too when it's opened up.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, very much so.
And very much it's a relief sculpture. It
Yes.
looks like a painting at first, but then you open the box and you've got a relief sculpture.
Yes, yes, it is.
Mhm.
Three-dimensional. And then Ed Kiefer over here has passed away, and I have his jazz paintings. I have his estate actually, and he's on my auction site on the web.
Oh yeah, so you not only have your gallery here, but you have it out on the internet.
I could finally have my gallery, which was a dream for me to have one on the outside, and it's doable on the
Mhm.
internet. And
And that's kind of a new concept, and
yes,
I think that's great that you've gotten probably one of the few internet galleries in this town. There might be another we don't know about,
Yeah.
but I know there's several artists that are working towards that, but I'm not sure if they would have exactly what you call a gallery. They have their own personal sites.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a gallery is a collection of people.
Yes.
So it's a little different than just having your own things on the site, on the
Mhm.
web. And how did you get involved with that? Are you a real computer
No,
nut?
no, as a
Because I
matter
know
of
I'm
fact,
not.
Ironically, I don't even own a computer at this point.
Mhm. But you could
I'm
still
about-
have your own website and everything even without the
Yes,
computer.
there
That's
are
great.
providers who do program these things and help you with it, so that when I decided to do it, I was going to buy a computer and get into all that too, but I realized that my energies were going to be so consumed by the design of the set and the programming. There was just no way I could also be fumbling around with the computer. So that's coming in the next month.
All right, so you're going to start that process.
Yes.
And it is a big one because it is all consuming. I've seen my friends,
Yes,
what happens to them when they get a computer.
And I see them break down so much.
I
so
know,
that's
and
what
there's a lot of, you get to know your help desk or your helpline real well. And then you become a community that way too. But so how does that work? How do they find you on the web?
Well, actually by conventional advertising, you do have to put yourself out in magazines, newspapers, symphony programs, that idea,
Mhm.
so that they see your website and then access it. Otherwise,
Right,
you're
they have
kind
to
of,
know those little numbers because we don't have, I guess the Feist does have websites listed in their phone book, so
yeah,
that would be
that's the
another-
tricky part, because it's
finding things.
there's so much on the web.
Yeah, and sifting through all of it takes a lot of time. But, oh, let's see. We have a little your Chief Zoe card here, and I picked this one up at a restaurant in town.
Yes, at the Herb Garden.
And here it's got your website and the little picture of the artist's work here. And, you know, I always pick up the postcards and read those.
Yes.
So this is the way I first became acquainted with you.
And
Well, we hadn't even met yet.
because this was a show I curated at the Wichita Center for the Arts. And he was here from Nigeria. He's very colorful.
And this is Chief Z.O. How do you say the rest of the name?
Lauren Toba.
Oh, just like it sounds.
Just
It's written.
Lauren, like the girl's name, Toba.
Oh, Lauren Toba. And his work is incredible. I think we'd show our
Yes.
audience some of his work.
Yes, he is. He's great.
You're looking at soldiers, citizen soldiers and their families, members of the Army National Guard. They spend 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year in intense training to be ready when they're needed by our country or communities. They live at home, building civilian experience, pursuing higher education and personal goals. They're friends, neighbors, teachers, accountants, fathers and mothers, sisters and sons, getting good pay and benefits while giving something back to the country they love. Join them. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD and discover the part-time job with full-time pride.
In the Army National Guard, you can.
Well, welcome back. Dorothy and I are still discussing art. She just found out that I've been teaching art at Wichita, and we've discussed some of the plays we've seen there and what a wonderful school it is.
The East, Wichita East.
Wichita
yes.
East High School.
Yes.
And she said she teaches a few little drawing classes. Do you get together groups through the Center of the Arts, or
No, just
do you go?
informally on
Informal?
my own. Just a few people that want to draw, and I enjoy that. I'd like to get into teaching a little more.
do you put that on your website, or is it
No,
local? It's got to be local.
That's just a local thing.
Local thing, right?
Fun thing.
All right. I wanted to mention your website. It's www.DRogersCollections.com, and all in small case. And look for that on your orchestra or symphony brochures and some of the little cards in restaurants and things. See if you can find Dorothy's website. That would be kind of fun to do. I'll have to check it out. Okay. Wanted to talk about this Chief Lauren Toba.
Good. You got that the
his
first
is
time.
Incredible work. This is kind of relates to the Mexican yarn painting.
Yes, it does.
And this is from Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Wonderful color. And you told me that this is all applied with wheat paste.
Yes.
I can't believe it would be that strong.
Yeah, it's amazing, and they roll like a tapestry there.
Roll it up. It's on canvas, and it's beautiful round cords.
Actually, it's cotton.
Cotton.
The
Looks like rayon.
African cotton is very beautiful. It looks like silk.
Yeah, because that's why I thought it was round, because it's so
And
shiny.
The colors are exquisite. He uses herbs to dye his cotton.
So
And
this
then
is all natural dyes.
Yes, all natural dyes.
And let's see down here.
That's Chief, then he signs it in cord, Chief Z.O. Toba. He doesn't use his full name on these smaller ones. 72 is that, or 92?
And this one
92.
is very interesting. This is the one you had on your little card. It's called Between Human and Animals, Life Protection.
Yes.
Very interesting title.
He's a spiritual leader in Africa, and he's also an internationally known herbal doctor.
So he's kind of a shaman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so and he uses the herbs in dyeing, so he feels his art is curative when you view it.
Well, so maybe I need one of these. I'll have to talk about this one. Natural protection, life protection. Yes, that'd be better than an insurance policy, wouldn't it? And then I notice he has musicians as kind of a, and of course music is very curative too.
Yes, and music is one of his favorite themes. I love these Dizzy Gillespie cheeks.
Yes.
They're just marvelous.
And the big lips, too.
Yeah, and the little village. This is a sign of a village, the little roofs
The
up
little
there.
cone shape.
Yeah,
And flowers and very symbolic, yes.
intricate design. They're, and again, Chief Zio Toba, and this is 92.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's he's been collected here in Wichita. Quite a few people bought his work at both of those
Good.
shows, so you might run into him in some homes.
All right. Well, I wish I could have been there to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had an interest in art from Africa, any of the primitive arts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I noticed this little mask you have hanging up here. Masks have been something I'm attracted to from African art, and all cultures had masks. And
Those are from Alaska when I was there 2 years ago, and they are by two different Athabascan Indian artists. Actually quite well known. Annie Aloha is the lower one, and
they're very transparent.
yes, it's the gut
The gut of a seal.
of a seal. Yes,
And real, I suppose it's seal fur, or where does the fur come from?
yeah, the fur is a fox, I believe, and the little eyebrows are seal, and then they use little wisps of beaver fur for the eyelashes and things. It's
Very
fascinating.
detailed. Huh?
I think they stretch it over a wooden form to
Model it out.
model the mask, the face. So.
And then once it's dry, it stays that
Yes.
form. And then they add the embellishments.
I just hung those in the window because they it's their transparency
That's wonderful
that
about
makes them
them.
so lovely. So I thought these just don't show well on the walls. So.
And I see a couple other little dolls over there, too, that are from
Yes,
Alaska.
that's yes.
Those are things that I really enjoy
Rex
myself.
Rabbit. Those are puppets, wonderful puppets.
So you
And,
have things from Alaska, Africa, the East Coast, and quite a few local artists here.
Yes,
I've seen the Merinos are well represented.
Murano.
Murano.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and her Tina
That's
and
Tina Weiss Murano over there. There's lovely,
copper pieces.
yes, copper and glass. Tina's very, very talented. I love her, and they're a wonderful artistic couple. David is so good with the figure, and
And then
Dyer.
another local artist. You said that you have.
Yeah, yes, Margie Sweeton is over here, and then I don't have any of Steve Murillo's work, but I represent Steve and have sold some of his work too. He's very,
very famous mural artist.
very famous. His murals are very well known. He just put in the murals at the hotel at Old Town.
Right, and he's well represented in Old Town area.
Oh, yes.
And the
same
interesting
old.
thing about Steve is one of his very first murals was Colorcraft, which is right in the
Yes.
Old Town area. I've kind of followed his career along, and he's
Yeah.
been guest artist in my classroom, and we've gone to his gallery. So I really like to keep in touch with the artists in town and bring them
Yes.
to my classes.
Yes, I was just able to help him get a commission at collegiate school. He's doing a beautiful ceramic tile mural there up a staircase, and that will be completed this summer, and will be a surprise to the students when they come back.
Really, a ceramic tile design.
Ceramic tile.
Because that's something different for him.
He works with a ceramicist, Terry.
Maxwell?
Oh dear, no, why don't I know that name? I should know it.
I know who you're talking about. He is a security guard at the art museum, I believe, too. This artist you're talking about.
Well, it could be. But anyway, that's going to be spectacular.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I haven't heard about that one. Okay, so anybody else local we need to talk about and cover? Since we are the Art of Wichita.
Let's see. I have so much. I almost have to look around to see who else I have here. We'll probably bump into them as we walk around.
Well, let's talk about your work. I see a very nice sculpture piece back here. Is this is your
Yes.
drawing, and then the sculpture. That's
The
a nice way
sculpture.
to display it too.
Yes, that's called Rebirth, that piece. It actually survived a fire in our home. We had a very tragic fire that destroyed everything, and that fell a story, and I reworked that sculpture.
So that's why it's Rebirth.
It's Rebirth. Actually, it came out better in the reworking.
Was it always black, or was it blackened by the fire?
It was blackened by the fire. This very black part must have been up. It must have fallen on its back, because the back of the sculpture is still the greenish that it was. It was serpentine. And so the back of it is greenish, and the other part was so exposed to the fire that it just turned black.
Changed
And
colors.
I think I had a geological happening there of
Right.
a million years or something.
Well, at least something good came out of the fire.
Yeah,
huh?
well, I had a little neck on that piece, and I couldn't decide whether to keep that neck or not. And when she fell, it fell off, and I thought, well, the Lord just decided
yes.
that neck
Mother Nature has
shouldn't be on
determined.
there.
Well,
So-
that's one thing that artists have to do, is listen to what the piece is telling them, what
Yes.
happened. Sometimes you have to deal with the things that you think are accidents or
That's
not
right.
exactly right, and then they're really perfect for the piece.
Yes.
And that's
sometimes
funny how
they-
that happens.
They're much better than you could really think out and
Right.
do.
When the little serendipitous things happen, it's you
Exactly.
go with it because it's supposed to be that way. Okay. Dorothy, we're starting to move around the gallery to pick out some of the pieces, and this, we noticed on the way in, there's a whole hallway of wonderful prints done by this artist here. You want to tell about her?
Yes, this is Anne Chernow from Connecticut, actually, Westport, Connecticut. And she's an internationally known print artist. Her work is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Yale University Gallery. These are two small paintings. Her studies are of actresses of the 30s and 40s and 20s who sort of supported each other as they went out from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and Schenectady, New York, to Hollywood, and they were very much exploited. So it's kind of showing how the actresses supported each other and helped each other through some hard times. And those are hanging in the apartment hallway, her prints.
Right,
And
they're
they
very
were
nice.
in the center show that I curated, the first show. Anne was. So those are.
Okay, and over here we have
Yes,
some
that's
nice little figures again.
David Morano.
David Morano.
With his wire figures and copper pieces. And then this is Tina Weiss Morano in the corner. Her lovely copper and glass pieces enclosing, in some cases, prints, and in other cases, actual wire. Things. This is a painting of mine from Boston. That's the view out my window.
All right, the yellow van.
Yes, that was the superintendent's van, and I
It's
didn't
always
know
there,
that when I painted it. This is Stephen Coyle here, a Boston artist.
The
And
dress.
The dress. He was in the show at the center, the first show. Very talented.
And I see this
artist.
is your basket, the forbidden fruit.
Yes, this is Bill's. He is kind of inspired by what he finds. This little piece of driftwood had a beautiful striations in it, and so he took that theme and
repeat
came
that?
up with the wire, and then he just got a little fun streak in him, and he put barbed wire around that and called it forbidden fruit. Get a
Yeah,
little,
it's really interesting how the wire makes shadows on the fruit
yes.
and repeats the pattern down below. So you just have a lot of foresight on that one.
It's quite nice. So,
All right. And then this painting we have to look at over here.
all right. Shall we cross over?
All right, this is the Daughter of the House. It's one of the larger paintings in the gallery. And it's done by an East Coast artist, right?
Ed Kiefer is from Providence, Rhode Island. He passed away in 1997, and he was in his 70s. He had quite a body of work, which I represent. And part of my website is my D-Bay auction, and I
Oh.
had his
Neat.
sort of borrowed there. I had his estate on there, his paintings of jazz musicians and of ladies of the night of New Orleans.
Right. So you can help people out with auctioning works after for estate.
Yes.
That's a very nice service.
Yes, yes.
Very nice.
That has turned out to be one of the best parts of the website.
Right, because you can get people from all over, collectors from everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And so he's...
Okay, I'm seeing some prints here that look very nice.
Yes,
Illustrations.
I love children's book illustrations. That's something that I collected. This is Uncle Wiggily, the wonderful Lang Campbell's Uncle Wiggily drawings from the 20s, the 1920s. And he did a cartoon for the Newark News, and he also illustrated books, Garris's books of Uncle Wiggily. Some people know Uncle Wiggily and some don't, and when you do, you fall in love with him.
Well, I've fallen in love with the illustrations. Is Uncle Wiggily the rabbit?
Uncle Wiggily is a great big rabbit.
Rabbit.
He's a gentleman rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's always dressed in tails and top hat.
And his nurse, Jane, is a muskrat. And she's a muskrat lady housekeeper. And he marries her, and this is the
wedding.
The wedding, and Jack in the pulpit is the minister.
All right. Oh, and we have a little segue here. We've got a wedding scene going on over here, too. We'll have to focus in on John and Yoko's wedding, which
John
will be
Lennon.
over here in this corner.
That's the Justice of the Peace with John and Yoko. That's from the Bag One collection of 1970. John was an artist before he was a musician. He went to art school, loved it. He was a very spontaneous drawer. He drew on everything, paper napkins and matchbook covers. And he gave Yoko many drawings for a wedding present. She loved them, and she encouraged him to publish them. She, of course, was an artist, and
That's how they met,
that's how they met.
at an art show.
That's right.
Of hers.
And she did things in a very good way. She published them beautifully, and they were lithographs, an edition of 300 in a beautiful zippered case, and it was called the Bag One collection. John was into bags back then, bagism and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I collected him. I sold him in Boston when I first moved there. So I got to know his art quite well, and I admire it greatly. He's a very spontaneous drawer and gets the feeling
Right, it's a
of
gesture, the gesture of the scene.
Yeah, I think many of us remember his white suit when he was married, and Yoko's great huge hat. And his white suit was very, very different. No men wore sort of flared jackets,
Right.
and he caught that feeling very well. And the establishment Justice of the Peace is very zipped up there, and he was able to.
He caught the whole scene, and Yoko
Yeah.
looks so tiny
Yes,
there.
he had her tiny in that one.
All
But they're
right.
quite nice. There are 15 in the Bag One collection, and it's an edition of 300 with 45 artist proofs also.
So can you acquire these for your customers?
That's on my web too,
All
on my
right.
website. I have sold quite a few of them, and I do specialize in him.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Dorothy, for such a
Well,
nice little tour.
You're welcome.
And thank you, people of Wichita. This is the Art of Wichita signing off today, Channel 53. Thank you very much, Cynthia Perry and Dorothy Rogers. Say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.